Ever had a window switch quit out of nowhere? The stereo go silent, or the dash go dark like someone pulled the plug. Maybe your headlights flicker for a second and then snap back to life. Those weird electrical gremlins are often your warning that a fuse has blown, or is about to. Catch those signs early and you'll avoid melted wiring, mystery no-starts, and repair bills that snowball fast. In this video, we're going to talk about the 5 symptoms of a blown fuse that people overlook all the time. I'll show you what each sign really means, how to zero in on the exact circuit, quick tests you can do in your driveway, and the right way to fix the cause so it doesn't come back. Stick with me, because a $2 fuse can save you from a 4-figure wiring repair if you act now. And hey, welcome to our YouTube channel, where we break car problems down in plain English so you can stay one step ahead of repairs and keep more money in your pocket. Let's start with the single most common clue. Something electrical stops working, dims, or flickers. Think headlights that look weak, a phone charger port that's dead, power windows that refuse to move. In most cars, each feature sits on its own protected circuit. When that fuse opens, power to that feature is gone. Simple, right? The part people miss is the almost blown phase. That's when you get flicker, a light that's noticeably dimmer than its twin, or an accessory that cuts in and out when you hit a bump. That's not the light bulb getting old. That's unstable voltage in the circuit, usually from high resistance at a connector or a fuse that's been running hot. If you see one headlight bright and the other weak, swap the bulbs side to side first. If the dim light stays in the same corner, you're chasing power and ground on that circuit. If both lights go dim together, you're likely upstream. Fuse, relay, switch, or a poor ground. Now, the one you should never ignore. A faint burning smell near the fuse box, under the dash, or around the battery junction box under the hood. That smell is insulation cooking. Sometimes you'll see a little haze, sometimes only a whiff. Either way, kill the power and investigate. A short to ground or a loose high-resistance connection can heat up fast. That heat can char the plastic body of a blade fuse without cleanly opening the link. So the circuit might still work, while the fuse body is literally browning. If you pull a fuse and the plastic is discolored or the blades are blue-black instead of bright metal, that fuse is done. Replace it, and find out why it overheated, because fuses don't fail for fun. Another big thing people brush off is sound. Rapid clicking from a relay, a faint buzz at a switch, or a chatter under the dash when you try to use a feature. Here's what's happening. The relay tries to pull in, voltage collapses because the circuit is overloaded or the fuse link is damaged. The relay drops out, voltage spikes, and the cycle repeats. Click, click, click. If you hear that and the feature isn't working, stop cycling it. You're stress testing wiring that's already in trouble. Track down the right fuse and relay with your owner's manual, then test the circuit calmly with a multimeter or a test light. The 4th sign is the one everyone thinks of, but it's easy to misread if you rush. Physical clues on the fuse itself. With mini blade fuses, you can often see the little metal link through the window. If that link is split or vaporized, the fuse is open. Sometimes you'll see a shiny smear or a fogged window. That's a violent event inside the fuse. That fuse did its job and sacrificed itself. Replace it only with the same amp rating. If you can't see the link because it's an opaque style, use a test light. Key on. Touch the test light to the 2 tiny exposed tabs on the top of the fuse. Power on both tabs means the fuse is good. Power on one tab and not the other means the fuse is open. No power on either tab means you're checking a feed that isn't energized yet, or you're upstream of the switch. Move to the right location in the diagram. One more thing. If the plastic body is melted, if the fuse is warped, or the socket looks cooked, don't just push a new fuse in and drive away. Heat like that points to a deeper fault. Loose terminals, corrosion, or an oversized replacement someone shoved in there in the past. Symptom 5 is the everything went dead at once moment. Sudden loss of power to a whole area of the car. The center stack goes black, the dash won't light, or the car is alive but won't crank because the starter control feed is offline. That can be a single high amperage fuse or a fusible link near the battery. Many vehicles use a mega fuse to protect the alternator or the main interior feed. When it opens, a big chunk of the car goes silent. If your dash is dark and your windows don't work but the headlights still do, that's a strong hint. The interior feed fuse is open while the main headlight feed is on a separate path. Use that pattern to home in on the right protection point. Okay, you've spotted a symptom. Now let's talk about why fuses blow in the first place, because swapping a fuse without tackling the cause is a guaranteed repeat. Overload is number one. The circuit is pulling more current than the fuse can safely allow. Space heater logic applies here the same way it does in a house. Stack enough hungry devices on one line and something will give. In cars, overload often shows up when a motor is failing. Power windows, seat motors, or a wiper motor that's binding can drag so much current the fuse sacrifices itself. If the fuse pops immediately every time you hit the switch, suspect a seized motor or a short in the wiring right at that device. Short circuits are next. A wire rubs through on a sharp edge and touches metal. A trailer wiring add-on pinches and grounds out. A bulb socket corrodes and bridges the contacts. Shorts blow fuses instantly. The moment you energize the circuit, pop. You can hunt these down with a simple trick. Replace the fuse with a resettable circuit breaker of the same rating and a test light in series. Wiggle the harness while the breaker is clicking. When the light goes out or the cycling stops as you move a section, you've found the damaged area. Fix the chafe point, secure the harness, then install the proper fuse. Using the wrong rating is another sneaky cause of bigger trouble. If you install a fuse with a higher amp number than the label on the panel, you've just told the circuit, melt the wiring before you blow. Never do that. Match the number. If you install one that's too low, it may blow as soon as the circuit does normal work. That leads people to think there must be a short when the real issue is the wrong fuse size. Always read the cover map or the owner's manual and match the spec. High resistance can cook a fuse and still leave the link intact for a while. Corrosion on the terminals. A loose fuse that doesn't sit tight in the socket. A half-seated connector. Resistance turns power into heat. That heat browns the plastic and weakens the fuse in the socket until the link finally opens. If you pull a fuse and the blades are dull or green, clean the socket, treat it with a small amount of proper contact cleaner, and correct the fit before you reinstall a new fuse. Water intrusion is another silent killer. A windshield leak or a clogged cowl drain can drip right onto a junction block. Moisture wicks into the socket, corrosion grows, resistance climbs, heat follows, and then you're chasing multiple random electrical faults. If you see white crust, green fuzz, or dried water tracks near the interior fuse panel, fix the leak first or you'll be back in there soon. Let me show you a clean, safe plan to diagnose and fix this without guesswork. Step 1. Confirm the symptom. What died? One window? All the windows? The radio and the charge port? Group the failures that happened at the same moment. That tells you whether you're on a single branch or a main feed. Step 2. Find the correct fuse location and rating. Pop the panel cover. Use the map. If the labels are cryptic, the owner's manual or a quick search by year, make, tone, model, and fuse chart will give you the legend. Step 3. Test the fuse in place with a test light or multimeter so you're not pulling every fuse out. Key on. Probe both test tabs on top of the fuse. Power on one side only means it's open. Replace it with the exact same amp rating. Step 4. Try the feature once, then stop. If the new fuse blows instantly, don't feed it a third time. You've got a hard short or a seized motor. Move to inspection. Inspection basics that work in any garage. Unplug the load on that circuit, say the window motor or the accessory port, then put in a new fuse and energize the switch. If the fuse holds with the load unplugged, the wiring up to that connector is likely fine, and the device is the problem. If the fuse still pops even with the device unplugged, the short is in the harness between the fuse and that connector. Follow the loom. Look for rubbed spots, tight bends around sharp brackets, fresh aftermarket screws, or areas where someone added accessories. Trailer modules and add-a-fuse jumpers in the interior panel are common failure points. Repair the damaged wire with proper crimp and heat shrink connectors or solder and heat shrink. No twist and tape fixes. If the fuse didn't blow immediately but the circuit acts weak or intermittent, check the relay next. Swap it with a known good same part number relay in a non-critical circuit. If the problem moves with the relay, you've nailed it. If not, measure voltage drop across the fuse and at the load while it's operating. Anything more than a few tenths of a volt across the fuse itself points to heat damage or a poor connection. A few safety notes while you work. Disconnect the negative battery cable if you're pulling large fuses or working on the main junction block. Never jumpering a fuse with foil or a paper clip just to test. That's how harnesses and dashboards melt. Use a proper circuit breaker or a current-limited power probe for testing. And don't upsize a fuse because the new part kept blowing the old one. If the circuit needs more current than the label says, the fix is to repair the fault or redesign the circuit with proper wiring and protection. Not a bigger number on the fuse. Quick hits for the common cases you'll see every week. Dead 12-volt power outlet? That's almost always a 10A or 15A blade fuse labeled P outlet, CIG, or ACC. Phone chargers and cheap inverters love to pop it. Replace the fuse, toss the failing adapter, and move on. One window dead? Others fine? Check that window's fuse and the door jamb boot for a broken wire. Repeated headlight fuse failures? Check the bulb socket for melted plastic and the ground near the headlamp assembly. Wiper fuse popping? Pull the arms off the glass, free the linkage, and check the motor for binding before you feed it another fuse. Audio or dash black but car runs? Check the interior ACC IGN feed fuse and the mega fuse on the main interior supply. Let's wrap with prevention so you don't have to chase this again. Keep moisture out. Clear cowl drains and fix windshield leaks promptly. Protect wiring after any repair. Loom, clamps, and grommets matter. When you add accessories, power them from an add-on fuse panel with its own main feed and protection, not from piggyback taps stacked onto a random slot. Replace aging, heat-stressed relays instead of nursing them along. And if you ever smell that hot plastic scent, stop driving and investigate before the problem escalates. If this helped you pinpoint an electrical issue without throwing parts at the car, tap like so more drivers can find it. Drop a comment with the circuit that keeps giving you trouble. I'll help you map it. And if you want more straight talk guides like this, subscribe to AutoVFix so you're always a step ahead and your money stays in your wallet.